Welcome to Make a Path Presents. I'm Ronnie Hayes, and today let's talk The Walking Dead Season 7 Q&A number 91. I don't know why I said Season 7. It's just The Walking Dead TV show Q&A. Anyway, I want to jump right into the questions, so if you're new here, look down in the video description to find the rules to participate. First up, JR. Would you like to see a huge betrayal by one of the survivors? No, I wouldn't. You also ask if I think we'll see one. Not a major survivor, I don't think it fits the story, but we might see one from a minor character. Minor like Spencer, for an example. James Powlett. I'm worried I'm hearing... Alright, I don't know what that first sentence is. That's crazy as shit, but you're talking about the immunity to the zombie virus from Fear the Walking Dead. Let's see how that plays out first. I still call bullshit on that. I don't know. Unless I see it, I'm not going to believe it. You're worried it's going to ruin or spill over into the main show? I'll tell you right now, if they want to do an immunity storyline, if they want to do a storyline where there's a character that's immune to the virus somehow, or immune to getting bitten, or heals after getting bitten, whatever they want to do, they're going to do it. It doesn't matter if they do it in the game, the book, the novels. It doesn't matter. If they want to do it, they'll do it. So until we see what happens on Fear, I wouldn't worry. Ice Judge. In issue 100, Maggie punches Rick after Glenn's death. You ask if we're going to see something with her attacking Eugene, thinking he sold them out. No, not at all. Maggie in the comic was very different. In the comic, she knew, that the group knew, that she wasn't a tough survivor like she is in the TV show. She is completely different, There's a lot of similarities, but as far as handling her own, she was not there yet. She's there now, I feel, but she wasn't there yet. She didn't get there until around All Out War. However, in the show, Maggie can hold her own. She wouldn't blame someone else like that. No, I don't see it. Unless they change the story somehow, and there's a specific reason because of the change, I don't see it. Big Boss. If a new arc is created specifically in the show that wasn't in the comics, do you think it'll have a significant impact on the main story with Negan? No, not a significant impact. As far as moving the story away from the comic book story, I think that's maybe what you mean by that. If they do an original piece, I think it'll blend, or it should blend nicely, and it shouldn't really, derail Negan's storyline. It should play out touching all the beats that it needs to with the comic storyline. Dodling. Do you think that Daryl has a chance to get Holly's death from the comics? No, I don't think it fits. Domino 1-2. Do you think Aaron will start to get a larger role? I hope so. Food Lover 118. Hey Ronnie, so I just started reading the comics. Do you think that they should have made the TV characters more gruesome? At times, yes. You bring up Michonne as an example. Sometimes, yeah. But then again, I think the more focus is on the governor character, because that was really the big moment where they sidelined his character out of being very gruesome to being made for TV. Kind of. You know what I mean? Yeah, I'm always going to pull for the gruesome, unrestrictive, because if someone's creativity is hindered by ratings and restrictions in that sense, then it's not as creative as the original idea. So I'm always going to be open to the original idea first, restrictions later. Restrictions always... Exactly, it restricts things. Mark Restar. Oh man, I screwed that up. Hey Ronnie, just wondering, it seems the promotions for Season 7 are a little lame, and you want to know what my ideas for promotions would be? I don't know. I'd have to sit back and think of something. I'm still going to stick with the Negan coming up, like you see a full body of Negan coming up with the bat as if he's going to hit someone in the head for the first time, and having Rick there at first on his knees, and then it would transition in and out of all the different characters to finally Negan's bat coming down, and we don't see who it comes down on. It would be a stylized promo. I'm sticking with something like that. Speaking of restrictions, they can't show the 11 characters in the promos, so it really limits them to what they can show. So if you're not liking the promos, that's probably why. After the first episode, we're going to get full promos again. We might even get another second trailer, for real. So if people didn't like the first trailer, we'll get another one. I think we will. Sven Blixt. How do you think Negan will die in the show? I don't think he's going to die in the show, not anytime soon. Bob Dylan, you have huge, please answer me, and you didn't even ask a question. You told me that we saw Carl and Eduardo in Season 6, and we'll hopefully see more of them in Season 7. But you didn't actually ask a question. If you asked me if I want to see more of them, sure, a little bit, but just a little bit, because they're minor characters. They're really minor characters. Planted Prism, which do you prefer, 5-inch comic figures or 5-inch TV figures? The comic series on the paint apps alone make them a lot better. I rarely see any defects. They're there, but I rarely ever find them. As far as the TV line, you gotta look through a few before you find one that has solid paint apps. Nerd Force, could you see All Out War being a TV movie or take up an entire season? An entire season, I don't want anything to be a TV movie from The Walking Dead unless they do a different spin-off. No, I don't like that at all. The only thing a TV movie does is it lightens up some of the restrictions because now they have a bigger range for the ratings. But there's still restrictions there, However, you could do curses, you could do more gore, but I would prefer to just have it on the Blu-ray. I'm good with that. I don't want a movie. C. Davis, 4111. After the Negan kill, how do you think Rick and group will get home? Will they take the RV back? Will they get their weapons back? Yeah, here's the thing. I think they're going to get their weapons back, maybe without bullets and stuff like that. And I think they will show the dead body. You put that in there too. I do believe it will be a transition. We might be at the hilltop and then see them pull up. Then we might be inside the RV. And then you see doors open up and you have the body there, just as an example. Not, specifically what they'll do. Eddie Ep 118. In the comic, when Negan is first introduced, he gives Rick a speech, has a full face of anger and a fuck you attitude. Why didn't they do this with Rick seeming completely frightened and helpless instead? Yeah, in the comic, Rick was like, fuck you to Negan. On the show, he was helpless and crushed. And that was what they were going for. So, forcing comic book Rick Grimes into that moment would have been forcing it because they wanted to have Rick in the beginning of the season in control, Rick at the end of the season not in control. Now, when they come back for the season 7 premiere, Rick might just say something like, I will kill you. It's possible because, again, they ended it that way to have Rick broken, even though I feel like it was more a failure, because the attention was on the cliffhanger more than it was on Rick. But that's what they were going for. Gregory Sanchez, do you think Glenn would be in charge of the Hilltop Colony instead of Maggie? No, not at all. Maggie has already been set up for that position, and Glenn just wouldn't be a right fit, I don't believe. Carl Grimes, who do you think Daryl is going to... Do you think Daryl... Wait, what? Who do you think Daryl is going to be a relationship? Well, I don't know. Daryl could have a relationship. Everyone's pointing to Rosita. I see that a lot. I don't know why. I don't see it. Not yet, anyway. Josh Giles. Hey, Ronnie, do you have any idea why Negan only wears one glove? Yeah, that's for grip. That's all. That's all that's there. That's the hand that does the most pulling, and that's it. So if you're going to swing or crack someone with the bat, he probably just wears it like that. Or he's silly. Robert Huddleston. Listen, if Glenn and Abe die, how do you think it's going to affect the group? I'm going to be general here. If anybody dies, it's going to affect the group the same. Because here's a person telling them they have to give him half their supplies. They have to live under his rule. They didn't appoint him as leader, Negan. They're not comfortable with that. So it doesn't matter who dies. It's a general thing. Anyone who dies, people are going to be individually affected because of how close they are to the person who dies. But as a whole, it's going to be the same outcome. Because here's a ruler who's taken half their supplies, and it's a ruler they did not vote for. They didn't say, no, he's a good person, he helps us, he has a good head on his shoulders, he's compassionate, he's the one we want to follow. They didn't say that. This is a person who came in and said, I have a bigger I have a bigger army than you, you're going to do as I say. So in a general sense, the outcome will always be the same, and that's part of my debate on They could really pick anyone and get away with it, to be honest. Looking past that, you just need to look at the story, what's going to benefit the story the most, and then after that, a more important scale to some fans, but a lesser scale to the story aspect would be, how would the fans be affected? Are you just going to pick a character that's going to cripple fans, or are you going to pick a character that will cripple them after the fact? Because that's a thing, they can definitely do that. Pick a character you right now would say, oh, that wouldn't affect me. They can do it in a way that will affect you, and there's some real good writing in that, if they can make it work. Connor B. What would be the perfect death for Daryl in the show? I have no idea. But I feel like if Carol's alive at the time, it would have to be something with him dying in front of her. You know what I mean? I don't know. They have that bond. Maybe even if it's in all-out war and something's going on and he sees one of those damn Cherokee roses, and they think that the battle's over, they're not going to fight, the saviors didn't come, and he walks out into an open field finding a Cherokee rose, and he picks it up and he realizes that they've been waiting for the saviors this whole time, but this is a trap, Not the Cherokee rose, but he looks around and he notices they're moving in on him, and they just haven't seen him yet. Something like that. And then maybe he would get, I don't know, shoot him. Just shoot him in the field holding a Cherokee rose. Game over, Daryl. Samuel Hirsch. Seeing as they film the death for every character in the lineup, do you think they'll release them all in Blu-ray? If they don't release them all, they didn't film it. That's how I feel. But if they did do it, I feel like they would release that on the Blu-ray. EB Raps. Ronnie, do you think Maggie could get Andrea's scars? Where have you been? Beth got Andrea's scars in the TV show. Except for the top one, I think, was on the other side. One here and one here on opposite sides. Andrea had them on the same side, if I have that correct. But Beth got Andrea's scars. At this point, it would be kind of silly if someone else got them too. Jimmy T. Who do you reckon will be the first to die after the Season 7 premiere? No one. I mean, we're talking main characters. Nobody. We shouldn't have a main death. They might throw something in there, but we really don't need one. The story doesn't call for it at all because there will be relative peace. You know what I'm saying? Josh Matthews. Do you think that they should kill off Enid? You know what? I have no idea. At this point in time, Enid feels like a replacement for Sophia, but one of the biggest elements or aspects of Sophia is the fact that she's been a character that was surviving as a child with Carl through all of this. Now, they might not have been together at all times. They were apart for a while, but she was at the prison with Carl. She was holding his hand, looking at a butterfly representing new life. There's symbolism there. She had conversations with him all the way back then in the prison. She survived all that. Enid hasn't. So in a way, I feel like Enid, not even taking jabs at the actress, that just the creation of the character alone, she's an artificial replacement for Sophia. And it's really hard to look past that sometimes because you really wonder, are they doing anything with this character? Is she just an artificial replacement? Does that make... No, that sounds so stupid. Is she just... By artificial, I mean, something that's not authentic. It's just like, oh, they killed Sophia back then, which was a great story element. I loved that part in the story. Loved it. Think it's one of the best parts. But Enid feels like a cheap replacement. The character, not taking jabs at the actress. Connor Hagen, TM. Do you think All Out War will start at the end of Season 8 or Season 9? I think it should start by the end of Season 7. We should see All Out War popping off. The end of Season 7 to close, knowing that Season 8 will be All Out War. That's what I would like. Jacinta, do you think the idea of one of Negan's wives having a baby would work in the show? Love your channel. Thank you very much. No, honestly, I don't think that has any purpose in the show. I don't think it does anything for the story. And it really doesn't do much for his character other than show that he's reckless, to be honest with you. Because now you got a baby, you got to take care of it, you got all this stuff going on. I mean, he's a bachelor with all these wives. Does he really want 6 or 7 screaming babies there? I don't mean to sound crude, but, does he really want that? So I feel like Negan would not allow that to happen. Playtalian, do you think we could get a flashback episode for Negan based on the one-shot? No, not at all. The one-shot is new to us because it's just coming out now, but for the TV show, they're writing that well in advance. You know what I mean? I don't think Robert Kirkman would, behind the scenes, rush parts of the Here's Negan story just to get it to the writers on the TV show. You know, because there's things he's probably going to want to tweak along the way. He probably has the outline, but there's little things he's tweaking along the way. I just think that's too rushed, too forced. I don't think it fits either. You know, we should be dreading Negan, not finding out stuff that's going to make him seem more compassionate. You know what I mean? Jazzer7792. Hey Ronnie, how do you think The Walking Dead will introduce Ezekiel? Do you think it'll be the same or different from the comics? I think it's definitely going to be a little bit of both. It's definitely going to be remixed, though. They already started remixing it by putting Morgan and Carol there, definitely. Zachary Arquette. If they decide to have 2 deaths in the Season 7 premiere, do you think they could have Negan kill Glenn with Lucille for the first death, and as Glenn is getting beaten to death, Abraham gets up and tries to save Glenn, and then they shoot Abraham in the head, so both characters get a similar death like the comic counterparts? No, I don't know why you would want to do all that just to have them have similar deaths as the comic counterparts. They already gave Abraham's comic counterpart death to Denise. Repeating that death would seem kind of silly, wouldn't it? It seem kind of forced. I don't know. To me it would. Compsy. What do you think Daryl's role will be if he gets taken by Negan? It'll probably be like a right-hand man to Dwight, or like an assistant or servant. I think he should stay close to Dwight if he gets taken. Your bros knows best. Do you think that they might have an all-Dwight episode in Season 7 showing how he got to the sanctuary and how he returned after he found Daryl and how maybe the events... No, because none of that does anything to the story. It doesn't do anything for the story. It doesn't do anything for the character. Even the burning of the face. Show a new character with a burning of the face. Show new story that adds to the story, pushes it forward, and adds more character development. Showing stuff that Dwight has already been through that really doesn't show us anything new for his character development doesn't do anything, and it doesn't do anything for the story. But I do believe we will get Savior-centric episodes, or a episode. Savior-centric meaning, you know, we'll see survivors, but a heavy focus will be on the saviors, and I think we will get a nice chunk of focus on Dwight. Radical Z. Radical Z asked if we're going to get a Savior-centered episode in 7A. Yeah, I do believe we're going to get it in the first half of the season. Maybe the second half, too. Alpha Omega. Ronnie, how do you think Maggie's character will change after the Lucille victim is killed? Listen, if it's Glenn, I think they might actually have an opportunity now to go back into the comic and have Maggie attempt to kill herself like in the comic book. I think that's the only way to have Maggie do that moment. They don't have to do that moment. You know, they can make her stronger after this. But I wouldn't mind her character give up for a little bit, you know, even for an episode or two. Just, she lost everything at that point. Just, I wouldn't mind for her to give up, you know. But it would be interesting if they did remix that in a way. Cam Burns, would you like to see Abraham stand up during Glenn's death and get his comic book death? I don't know why we keep wanting Abraham to get his comic book death when he survived his comic book death. Listen, there's a lot of fans talking about, in the comments section, what I think about Abraham standing up after Glenn has been beaten to death, and I hate it. Like, I know I talked about hating the double death rumors and speculation that are floating all over the place, but it's even worse when people tell me they think Abraham, and I'm not poking fun, seriously not poking fun, but I'm giving you an honest opinion. It's even worse when people tell me that they expect Abraham to jump up after Glenn is beaten to death. What is the point of putting everyone at risk, including yourself, once someone's already been killed? What is the point? You're outgunned, you're outmanned. Your friend is already dead. You didn't just jump up before he got hit. You know what I mean? You didn't do shit before he got hit. Once he's laying there and his head is a bowl of brain soup, then you're going to jump up? These are other reasons that are adding to why I really hate the double death idea. none of it makes any sense. Again, they could actually do it and do it well, and it will make sense. But for right now, these little bits and pieces I'm getting, I hate it. But listen, I got to get going. Got to pick up my daughter from school. If you want to participate in the Q&A, find those rules down in the video description. And if you want to share any thoughts or opinions, we don't get many people sharing thoughts and opinions. A lot of people put Q&A questions, but we don't get many people putting their thoughts and opinions about these questions. Feel free to answer yourself if you have any other ideas. I do this from the hip. I don't think about these. I don't, whatever. I mean, maybe sometimes I should pick really good questions and make videos out of them. Let me know if you guys would like to see some of those. Maybe we'll even label them something different. But I shoot from the hip on these. Sometimes I'll say something, answer one of these questions, and then later, in a month from now, I think of something different, and my opinion changed completely. I don't agree with the same answer I gave. It doesn't happen all the time, but it does happen. So you never know. If you have a better idea or an answer or a response, or if you just have an idea you want to share, feel free to share down in that comment box below. I don't know why I'm yelling. I'm done talking. It's your turn. Subscribe now.